let's get into the Florida-Georgia game.
Okay.
Pretty massive game here. And like both teams coming off a week off. Both teams still a lot to play for. Obviously, Georgia undefeated. Florida sitting there 5-2. Initial thoughts on this game?
I'm actually kind of interested in it because Florida's quietly been pretty decent on offense.
Mm-hmm.
And Mertz is third in the nation in completion percentage, so they're asking him to do things that he can do, and they're having some success on that. 22nd in the country in pass play success rate. Now, obviously, Georgia's strength is stopping the pass, and so where I think it's interesting is that outside of the Kentucky game, we haven't really seen a super impressive performance from Georgia yet, and that was with Brock Bowers. And that's kind of been their identity on offense this year. Like when they need to make a play, he's the guy getting the ball.
Yeah.
So with your first real game of not having him in there against your arch rival team that's playing a little bit better. I mean, Florida's 5-2. Like I got to give them credit. They've I thought after I saw them the first week with all the mistakes, and losing to Utah without Cam Rising, I was like, man, I just don't know. And then they get smoked by Kentucky, and they've kind of rebounded. Now,
yeah,
it's a little smoke and mirrors because South Carolina team that they had to rally to beat isn't great.
No, they're awful.
So, and turns out Kentucky's not great either. So the fact that they smoked you is kind of a bad sign. But
yeah,
I do like kind of where Florida's offense is headed, and I just think it's going to be an interesting test for Georgia, like more than we've seen in the last few years. That's kind of my initial read. What about you?
So that was I think this game goes one of two ways, and I don't want to give away my prediction by any means, especially before we get Drew on here. This sounds stupid, but I'll say it anyway. This game goes one of two ways, and that is enough dumb shit happens that Florida somehow sticks around and lingers and is able to have I think you would have to have 3 turnovers. I think you would have to have 3 turnovers.
Yeah.
Catch lightning in a bottle on something like whether it's like a blocked punt return for a touchdown, a fumble return for a touchdown, something in special teams or defense where you get at least 6 out of there. Or like a flip field, like really, really deep in Georgia territory. But I still think it's 3 turnovers plus a touchdown on defense or special teams, like a non-offensive touchdown. This is the last team to beat them in the regular season, which I don't think matters at all. I've just heard it as a talking point all week. I don't think that Mertz is going to come out here and throw a bunch of wheel routes like Kyle Trask did in 2020. I mean, one thing that scares me for Florida is that Kirby Smart hates Florida. He hates Florida. And I will say that there's no rivalry in college football that is more heated off the field than this rivalry. I've never seen 2 fan bases go at it on a daily basis more than these two. And I'll tell you right now, Georgia fans, you're not going to want to hear this, but I don't give a shit. It would be hilarious if Florida won this game. It would be hilarious if Florida won this game. Now, I will also tell you, when you said the smoke and mirrors thing, I do kind of think that a little bit of this whole situation with Florida is a little bit smoke and mirrors in terms of they scored 41 against South Carolina, and South Carolina kind of sucks. Is that where some of the offensive numbers are coming from? Because then you look back at that and it's all right, well, they beat Vandy like a drum, which they should have. They got their ass kicked by Kentucky. And then, they played a weird one against Charlotte where it's it was 22-7. And they had that big win against Tennessee at home. I think that this is going to be a game that Georgia's going to have to come out of the gates and struggle. I don't think the Brock Bowers angle is going to be that big of a.
But isn't that kind of what Georgia does this year?
Yeah, right. So they got to do it again.
So that part of the script is, I think, viable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think the Brock Bowers angle is that big of a deal. I don't. Like,
who's the guy they go to in a, let's say they start slow and Florida gets out hot and is up 10-0. Who's the guy on offense that Georgia's turning to that's like, all right, we know this guy is going to be reliable for us here. We're going to get a touchdown on this drive.
Stetson fucking Bennett. I don't know. Do you hobble Brock Bowers out there with one fucking leg like Lieutenant
You remember
Dan?
the catch he made last year in this game?
Huh?
Remember the catch he made last year in this game?
I was high the whole game last year, bro. I don't remember anything. I'm kidding. I was not, guys. I do. It was like a circus catch that, like,
but seriously, like, I'm not saying that guy doesn't possibly exist on the roster, but I don't know who it is.
Well, and my question is this: what is the offensive game plan for Georgia? Because their whole thing is about being balanced and like, running the football and being able to throw the football, getting it to a bunch of different guys. That's been their MO forever now. Like under.
I think you lean on Dejon Edwards. I mean, he's been good this year. And he was good in this game last year. He had 12 carries for 106 yards and 2 touchdowns in the game last year.
Well, and you take the blueprint from what Kentucky's done?
Dude, so here's where I think Georgia can Florida is 132nd in the country in rush play explosiveness allowed and 129th in pass play explosiveness allowed. Like, you could just gas them for huge plays. Well, I think a lot of that rush number is mainly from that Kentucky game, but I think if you can get Dejon Edwards going on the ground early, and you can open up play action for Carson Beck, like, I think they're going to be fine. But if Florida can somehow stop the run, it could be trouble. I mean, it could be a close game.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
Oh, this guy always he's wearing a chain. Now let's introduce our next guest. As I used to like to introduce him as like the best non-Australian punter in the country. He's quickly become the only non-Australian punter that I know.
That's a good one too. That's a good
it's kind of fair. Drew Butler, how the hell are you, man?
I'm okay. I'm writing a list down right now, and I'm trying to think to myself,
oh boy,
how many fucking people Marler reached out to before he asked me to jump on this podcast 20 minutes before he needed me. So I have a list. I have a list.
Earlier in the day, I did this this morning. You were the first person I reached out to, Dick.
I have a list. Okay, here are the people Chris Marler reached out to before he texted me, can you please jump on the podcast? Josh Pate, Cole Kubelik, Peter Burns, Alyssa Lang, the funny guy from the SEC Shorts videos.
I almost texted him, yeah.
The dude from the Dr. Pepper commercials.
Larry?
And then the dog from the Bush's Baked Beans commercials. That's what I have written down of the people you probably reached out to before you called me.
Okay, first
I'm here.
It's good to see you.
Great to see you.
Bush's Baked Beans is a new sponsor we have at the site. So
there you go. There you go.
Is it really? All right.
Yeah, I think we sold them on a puppy picks thing that we were gonna do with like the dogs and pick games.
What's going on,
we're happy
boys?
to have you here. You were. I'm looking at the list right now. What is it? You were 41 to 20. I'm just trying to make up a score of when Bama beat Georgia. That's all I'm trying to do.
I never played Bama. I never got to play out. Oh, 2008, I was on the team. I didn't play in the game, but that wasn't a very fun game for Georgia fans.
I didn't ask Aaron Murray over you.
You didn't?
Oh, no, wow. Absolutely not.
Okay, well, there you go. I'm here.
We just got done just razzing some of his takes, but it was during the BYU Texas segment. So
gotcha.
Yeah, it plays.
Gotcha.
All right, we're talking about Florida, Georgia.
Florida.
So just phonetically and alphabetically speaking, it's definitely Florida, Georgia. They have more wins in the last 30 plus years, at least in my lifetime, which is where I want to start.
I just want to say that I'm not on board with this segment of the podcast.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Tyler. And good to see you as well, my friend. Congrats on Florida State rocking and rolling.
Yeah, thanks, man.
That's awesome.
Good to see you too.
I texted him.
All right, go ahead, Craig.
Like 20 minutes for the podcast, and I was like, just to be clear, let's make sure we say Florida, Georgia every time. And he was like, I'll just see you at 8:30. Please stop.
That's great.
All right. So taking us through this, obviously you're a Georgia guy. It's been kind of an odd season because they're undefeated, but there are like cracks in the armor a little bit. Like overall, and I don't even mean the fan base, because the fan base is, everyone has fanatics, but like what is the mindset or like the confidence level this year and compared to years past, maybe, of like how people around the program are feeling about the team?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think the general consensus will probably be that this year's Georgia team is not living up to expectations. However, the expectations are so unbelievably high.
Right.
And that's probably unfair to the players on the team, unfair to the coaching staff, because you're winning games. I mean, just 6 years ago, if you told Georgia, hey, you'd be 7-0 heading into Florida, everybody would be doing backflips saying, hell yeah, that's exactly what I want. It's pretty clear this year that the defense is not up to par as to what it's been the last 2 years. And again, I will go ahead and say the past 2 years of defense at Georgia have been some of the most historically great defenses in all of college football. So they're chasing that standard, which is so unbelievably high. And then when you look at from an offensive perspective, what they were able to do, the creativity that they had, the explosiveness that they had, not only with Todd Monken calling plays, but with the NFL talent that was on the field, you knew there was going to be a big turnover. And you knew even if they were averaging 41 points per game, which they're doing right now, you'd have people saying this isn't good enough. So I think what's interesting is that the fans probably are starting to understand every single week Georgia plays, they're going to get the opponent's best shot. And every single week they continue to win, the odds of them winning the next week go against them.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of fact. Like the next stretch of 4 games, call Florida the 26th ranked team in the country. It's Florida 26, Missouri 16, Ole Miss 13, Tennessee 21 as it stands now. Like, is there a loss in there? And if they're away, will the field be stormed? Like that is what Georgia is fighting against right now. Thankfully, Kirby Smart has built a team that can grind you down, wear you out. And as a fan, I'm putting my fan cap on. If you tell me a team wants to run 60 minutes with Georgia, I'd say, all right, strap it up and let's go see what happens. And I think that they probably feel that same way too.
That's fair. We were just talking about before you came on the Brock Bowers injury. Obviously, everybody's talking about it, but I really do think it's a big deal because, and I'll ask you, because Chris and I couldn't really come up with a name. Like, let's say, Georgia's been getting off to some slow starts. So let's say somehow Florida's up 10, 13, nothing to start the game. Who's the guy on offense? It's always been Bowers, right? Who's the guy they can turn to that says, all right, this guy's going to get us down the field. We're going to him, target him 50% of the time. You know, who is that guy? If
he's healthy, I think it's Ladd McConkey. He has proven to be super efficient, crisp route runner, highly dependable when he's on the field, especially in third down. Gritty, of course, right? Like all that stuff. Great mental capacity, whatever.
Sneaky fast.
Yeah, that one too. Arian Smith's got to catch the ball. I mean, the guy's been wide open downfield for a couple of game-breaking plays, and he hasn't been able to bring it in. Could he have that opportunity in Jacksonville? Sure he could. And those are the types of plays, those huge chunk explosive plays that not only give you a big lead in the game, it gets the offense great momentum. Everybody starts clicking. The defense is fired up. The opposing team's like, oh, shit, we can't keep up with these guys. So I think if you go through the air, you start with Ladd because he is so dependable. And then I'd like to see one of these transfers step up. Coach Smart continues to speak highly of Ra Thomas and Dominic Lovett. I know they've been getting a little bit more implemented in the game plan, but there are a lot of toys on Georgia's offense. I'm fascinated to find out what identity they take through these next 4 games without Brock Bowers. Will they just go in the trenches and start running the ball in between the tackles and say, we dare you to beat us that way? They very well could. Or will they go 5 wide and say, Carson can sling it. He's earned the trust of this team. Let's see what kind of talent we have on the outside. I'm excited to see because, quite frankly, I have no idea.
I think I don't think you stray too far away from that position either, because Oscar Delp is more than capable of putting up some really big numbers as well. Looking at Florida, besides their like the mental capacity of their fan base, what scares you most about this Florida team?
They've been highly inconsistent. Graham Mertz, quite frankly, scares me. Now he's been playing very up or very down, and he's trending in the right direction. But the fact that he's not exactly mobile, if you look at what Georgia's been, weak against or weaker against, it is that mobile quarterback who's able to get out on the perimeter or get the ball onto the perimeter. And then Georgia's defense has shown vulnerability in that aspect. Take what Devin Leary and Kentucky were, an undefeated top 20 ranked team. He wasn't mobile. Georgia swallowed him up and just took care of business immediately. If they force Graham Mertz into that type of game plan, I think it's going to be a long day for the Florida Gators. The line is 14.5. That kind of shocked me too, Chris. I was like, damn, that's a lot of points. And Georgia's 1-5-1 against the spread. Do they have to have some regression to the mean? Do they have to start covering some games in order for Vegas to get back even? I would think so. But another thing too is Kirby Smart. Like he hates Florida. Like he's one of those guys that absolutely cannot stand Florida. It's no coincidence that a lot of those leaked locker room speeches are from the games down in Jacksonville. That's just that's what comes from being an alumni of the school. Growing up in South Georgia and Bainbridge, close to the Florida, Georgia. He doesn't like the orange and blue, and he's not afraid to let people know it. So that plays into the Dogs' advantage as well.
We were talking too, everyone's talking about how Mertz is like third in the country in completion percentage, but you start to look at some of the defenses that Florida's gone up against basically since they played Utah.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Tennessee when that was a great win, but then it was Charlotte 22-7. You played a Kentucky team that just ran all over you.
That's right.
And you only scored 14 points. And then you played Vandy and South Carolina, terrible defenses. And your offense looked good there. So it's almost like maybe a little bit of smoke and mirrors with the offense here.
Ray Davis ran for 280 against Florida, right?
282.
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy. So, I mean, would it surprise me if Georgia's like, hey, we're just going to run straight at these guys? No, it wouldn't surprise me at all. And when you break out those statistics like that, Tyler, and you look at who Graham Mertz has kind of quote unquote padded his stats against, it makes you think like, look, he hasn't seen a defense like Georgia. I thought it was crazy that, and I'm no guru, I'll tell you that right now.
We were saying that too before you came on here. You're definitely not.
Course.
That's one of the things we said.
But like Georgia's defense against Vanderbilt to start the game, like how they didn't just go press man coverage to start the game, be like, hey, you guys can't get off the line on us, and then we'll run with you. And you won't like soft zone, and then they have a miscue, and homeboy goes 65 yards to the house. It's like that shouldn't happen. So
right.
I don't know. I mean, there's so many ways Georgia can attack Florida this weekend. And I was with some Georgia fans earlier this week. Like there's still that level of pessimism that is from the mid to early 2000s and 2010s of, oh shit, it's Jacksonville. Anything can happen. And I was sitting there going, I don't know, man. Like, yeah, Florida's playing pretty well recently, but Georgia's certainly on another level.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So this isn't going to shock you at all, but I didn't write down any of my questions. I have them all up in my head, which is a steel trap. No doubt.
Spontaneity. Creativity.
You nailed it. I mean, that was good. That's that Georgia education.
Beautifully said.
Thank you, Tyler. It's late. It's late.
What is your favorite Florida Georgia line song?
Oh, okay. I got a great story for you.
Yes.
So I am playing in a charity golf tournament, the Caddyshack charity golf tournament. The Murray brothers. So Bill Murray's there, Joel Murray's there, John, Andy, the whole crew. Ed is there. Brian Doyle Murray, who wrote Caddyshack. Awesome event every spring down at the World Golf Village. So Chris Seeley, who's a huge Florida fan, tournament director. Him and I have become really good friends over the years. So he's like, hey, come on down and play. You're going to play with Jesse Rice. I'm like, cool. I have no idea who Jesse Rice is. So walk in, shake Jesse's hand. He's a Clemson fan. I'm like, what's up, Jesse? He's a younger guy.
Yeah.
Look, this is a golf tournament where the number one rule is have fun. So we're starting to, crush some beers. It's a beautiful day. Awesome golf tournament. And I get my speaker out and I'm playing music, bro country, like whatever. I'm not a snobby music guy, Chris. You need to know that about me. So I'm like, hey, Jesse, what do you do for work? He's like, I'm a songwriter. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, that seems like a cool gig. do you have any songs that I would know? That's an obvious question that you'd ask. He's like, yeah, I might have a couple of songs you'd know. I was like, what's your number one song? He's like, I wrote Cruise for Florida Georgia Line. I was like, really? So I'm sitting there going, this is like the third hole. I'm kind of like calling bullshit. I'm like, come on, dude, you wrote Cruise? He's like, yeah, you know the line, Jesse's getting ready. He's gassing up his Chevy. He's like, that's me. He's like, those are my guys. Oh, I forget their names, Tyler and Andrew or something like that.
Jace.
Yeah.
Jace
he's like,
and bass. It's like, it's just, yeah.
So Jesse Rice, awesome guy, great songwriter. Go check out his stuff. He wrote Cruise by Florida Georgia Line. He's got a daughter or 2 kids and a wife. And he's like, you want to know what the like second best day of my life was? This is when he only had 1 kid. And I was like, what? He goes, we got a phone call that Nelly wanted to remix Cruise. It stayed on the Billboard top 10 charts for like an extra 35 weeks or something. He was like, that was a great day. I was like,
yeah,
good for you. Money. I was like, good for you. Yeah. So that's my Florida Georgia Line song. So I'll go with Cruise. There you go.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tyler.
This is going to prolong the story, but it's almost too weird to even. I also met somebody that co-wrote that song.
There you go.
His name is Chase Rice. He's now an actual country singer. I was on a cruise, actually, weirdly enough.
Christ, come on, Tyler. Turn this into a comedy bit.
This is not a bullshit story. I was on a cruise my senior year of college, and we were at the pool, and we look across the pool, and there's a guy that looks identical to a guy in our crowd. So we're like, we've got to go introduce these guys. We go over there, and my one buddy is like, hey, I actually know you from when I was a kid. And it was a bunch of white UNC football players.
Yeah.
And he my buddy in my group grew up with Chase Rice in Ormond Beach, Florida. And so we just hang with them for the rest of the time. And then like a year later, like I'm friends with him on Facebook, and I see he's on Survivor. He's like made it second on Survivor, and then he becomes a country artist. And I found out he wrote Cruise, and I was like, I know this guy. Like I tried to get him booked at Peachtree Tavern here in
Peachtree Tavern's great
in Atlanta.
All right, so here, let me just give you a couple here. The song was written by the 2 members of Florida Georgia Line, Brian Kelly and Tyler Hubbard, together with Chase Rice and Jesse Rice. So there you go. We've corroborated our story. The Nelly remix was released on iTunes April 2, 2013 to Pop Radio on April 16th. The remix sold over 7 million copies or something like that. So it's a good day for those guys.
This is crazy. You guys aren't going to believe this, but I also met someone that wrote that song.
Yeah, I bet you did.
I actually know Nelly.
I was actually shopping for jeans with holes in them at a Hollister in McDonough, and one of the members of the band was there.
Dude, Cruise is the best-selling country digital song of all time in the United States.
That's sick. Me in so many reasons.
That's crazy.
That's sick.
There's like a couple of
keep writing jokes, Marler. One of them will hit someday. Okay, just keep trying, dude.
I just need to get a catchy tagline at the end of my jokes. Like at the end of it, it's like instead of like the dude, I'd be like, and Cruise, like repeatedly, just repeatedly.
Okay, you're a Chappelle Show guy, right? We're now way off track. So I'm a huge Chappelle Show guy.
Yeah.
All I can think about with the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce shit is the Dave Chappelle gets Oprah Winfrey pregnant skit. Remember when he gets Oprah Winfrey pregnant and he's like, gotcha. He's like, Stedman, don't F this up for me. I mean, that's one of the all-time great skits. And he's like, quit work. And he's like, I'm done. I quit. That's just the best. I literally think Travis Kelce's like got this long con to like maybe retire in a year and just marry Taylor Swift and be just ultra rich for the rest of his life.
What an awesome thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, good for him.
Like Gronk went porn star.
Yeah.
Right out the gate. Actually, I think he was still in the NFL when he did that.
Also when he was playing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Gronk was, of course. Of course. Yeah.
I mean, T Swift's kind of like the number one. How could you get better than that?
You know, it's like, hey, and the same thing with Chappelle. He was like, you know, have a great day at work, honey. Make sure you stay off your feet. You know, Kelsey could be like, have a great tour. I'll see you in a couple of months. Yeah. Like, he didn't have to do anything.
I will say that, and like I know that like a lot of our audience is like SEC fans. I feel like this is like a Venn diagram of the people that are mad about the Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift stuff. Just so everyone knows, and I'm not taking a stand either way, but I have seen Taylor Swift twice in concert, so I will say that's probably where my stance is. My main thing is if you're tired of hearing about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Just know that that's how every single fucking person you interact with to tell you about your fantasy team feels about your fantasy team. Yeah. Just to be clear.
I was at a birthday party this past week, and it's like, okay, let's just do simple math, like why they're beating it into your brain. The NFL's Instagram account has 25 million followers. Taylor Swift has 280 million followers on Instagram.
Right.
That's why they're doing it. It's not
math on it. It's fascinating how much money they've made off of it.
Oh,
yeah, crazy. Like Kelsey's Instagram followers have gone up like 3,000% or something crazy.
Their podcast hit 1 million subscribers.
It's insane.
1 million. There's a center for the Eagle.
They are crushing. If you haven't watched the Kelce documentary on Amazon, highly recommend it. It's absolutely awesome. It's about Jason Kelce last year. So, all right, we're way off track.
Start like a pop culture
Yeah. Podcast? Sorry about that. I just hijacked y'all's podcast.
My favorite part of this entire show, maybe of any guest we've had this season, is when Drew started fact checking you mid-story about your summer cruise.
Like, I don't know
there were some plot holes in that, Tyler, for sure.
That's great.
I was on a cruise.
Yeah. He was a linebacker at UNC. He tore his ACL his senior year, so he took up playing guitar, and that's how his country artist.
I bet he was a fucking nightmare to be around at parties that year. He tore his ACL and ended his career and picked up the guitar.
How much Natural Light did that guy drink? Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
All right, let's get Drew out of here with a couple more questions. Give us a prediction on the game. Well, first off, and I want to. This is twofold. So, this is like one of the rare old '80s games where your dad didn't kick like a 87-yard field goal to win. So, what is your all-time Florida Georgia non-playing days memory? Like favorite highlight?
I got a great
game, whatever.
Yeah.
And then what's your favorite memory from when you played?
Okay. Non-playing, 2012 was my rookie year. I was in Pittsburgh. And on the Steelers, Marquise Pouncey, Chris Rainey, Marcus Gilbert. Who else was on that team? Another Florida guy. I was a rookie. Georgia was really good that year. Florida was also really good. And we were in Baltimore. No, home against the Redskins. Can't say that anymore. Commanders. And they all, there's such thing called locker room bet. Like guys walk up to you. If your team's playing their team, no point spread, they name the price, shake hands, and you're on. And if you turn down a locker room bet, not a good look. So I'm a rookie. I got all these Florida guys just swarming around me, locker room bet, 500, locker room bet, 1,000, locker room bet, 100. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm a rookie, keep in mind. So I'm sweating this game in my hotel room by myself. Jarvis Jones, Jordan Reed, pops the ball out. We win the game. I'm going nuts. I'm like, dude, hell yeah. So I'm fired up. We go down to team meeting that Saturday night, and Coach Tomlin starts the team meeting by going, Drew Butler, stand up. And I stand up. He goes, tell everybody how much money you just made on all these Florida guys. And I said, whatever I made, and everybody cheered. And that's my favorite memory because it won me a significant amount of money. And those Florida guys are still great friends of mine. But playing days, 2011 was huge, man, because we won that game and we knew we were probably going to win the SEC East. We had started that season 0-2. We were 6-7 the year before. Think about that. We rattled off 10 straight wins in a row. We won the SEC East. This was the first time Georgia got back to the SEC title game since 2005, I think. So that was a big win in Florida. It was highly emotional for everybody. Fun victory for sure. Malcolm Mitchell went off in that game as well. He's a beast. So I have to say, getting that win my senior year, that was awesome.
Nice. Cool. Well, give us a prediction, man, for this year. And you're all over now. So tell everyone where they can find you as well, because where I usually find you is at about 11:30 p.m. when I decide to start bragging to you about my picks for the day when you're like probably in bed and being an adult. But yeah, give us a prediction of the game and tell everyone where they can find you.
42-20 is my prediction of the game. I think Georgia covers. I think Georgia wins. Okay. Where can they find me? So, like, if you're in the Atlanta area, right after the game, SEC on CBS, 3:30 this weekend, I'll be on Atlanta News First on the SEC wrap-up show. So we hit the air depending on when the game actually ends. As soon as Adam Zucker, Brian Jones, and Neuheisel are done up in New York, they throw it to us, and we have an hour on TV. So that's probably where you can find me immediately. Punt and Pass Podcast is everywhere you want to listen to podcasts. Me and Jake Fromm, we have fun. We do it twice a week. I just recorded one with him before Marler started begging me to jump on here with him. And then I'm on 92.9 The Game in Atlanta, which has been a lot of fun also. So I'm everywhere. Just
nice, man. Well, we appreciate the time, man.
How much live TV have you done?
This is my first foray into like true live TV, like being like an analyst, if you wanted to call it that.
Yeah.
But you know, people do ask me like, what do you want to do? And like, I enjoy being in studio. I don't really want to be in the booth. I don't really feel like I want to be like a color commentator or a play-by-play guy. I like being in the studio, helping drive conversation, kind of being one of those guys. So it's been a lot of fun. We'll see what happens.
Did you major in that at Georgia?
I did.
Okay.
I majored in journalism at Georgia. So
okay.
You know, if that helps me at all in some of these job searches, if you wanted to call it that, I'll let you know, because it has not so far. They don't give a shit. They're like, okay, you're a punter. You went to Georgia. What? No. Okay. So
you can see in the background here. I'm trying to show you. You can't really see it because
it looks like, what is that? A baby crib in the background? What do you have going on over there?
This is a day bed. It's not my room, so shut up.
Okay.
You didn't hear about his kid?
No. What do you have going on there? What's on the screen?
Well, that's what I was trying to tell you before you started being a dickhead about it. But I downloaded the app just for you.
Oh,
so
sweet.
I can watch you on TV.
Thank you, Marler.
I'll delete it.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you so much.
Well, I'll be looking. I'll be watching.
Yeah.
And thank you, Tyler. Hey, look, let me just say one thing. I think Florida State's going to the college football playoff. So,
what about Alabama?
Right. Yeah. I think did you see my shout out to my interns on Punt and Pass? I had a little clip go like semi-viral, 200,000 views on Instagram.
Sick.
Oh, there you go. You have interns.
Yeah. Grady School of Journalism. Shout out University of Georgia.
It's a great hospital.
Yeah. They send a sports media major to Punt and Pass every fall. They get 3 credits and they run my socials and they cut up all my stuff. So it's the best, dude.
Oh, that's awesome.
Help us out. Let them come over here.
Someone of them our way.
Gotta have the inside track, bro. Come on now.
I thought you were the inside track, but thanks for letting us down easy. That's nice. All right, we gotta go talk Tennessee and Kentucky and fucking the trophy game between A&M and Carolina. So
yeah, dude. Look, that game's I'm gonna let you go. That game's fascinating to me because if South Carolina loses, their season's officially in a total tailspin. Yeah. It already is.
Oh my god.
But if they win, like Jimbo Fisher, that fire will be so hot. I know it'd be crazy. So I'm fired up immediately. I mean,
Mike Elko. Mike Elko is going to be the next coach at Texas A&M.
Huh? Okay.
Yeah, and then Jimbo.
Dude, I was impressed with Duke this weekend. I really was.
I love it. All right, boys. Thanks so much for having me on. This podcast is going viral. I can already tell.
Boom.
And when you whoever does the post, whoever tease us in and out with a cruise by Florida Georgia Line.
It's illegal, but we'll try our best. Thanks, Drew. All right, that was fun. He's great. I feel bad that he thinks I asked all these other people because I asked him first, and I also feel bad that I interrupted because I kept laughing so much that who his other people he thinks I invited were. But that was great. Drew's a good friend and really good at what he does. Let's give some predictions for this game because we're an hour 10 in and we got a couple more games to go.
Yeah, so he's got me thinking Georgia, but I'm gonna go with my gut here. I think Florida's actually gonna cover in the game. As a double-digit dog last year, Napier was 3-0 against the spread, 2-0 in conference. This is also the start of a tough stretch for UGA. You've got this next week, Missouri, then Ole Miss, then Tennessee. So we're about to see what Georgia's all about. And if you're a Georgia fan, you probably feel good right now because I've been on the wrong side of this pretty much every time I've flip-flopped. I bought all in on Georgia, especially against Vandy after that Kentucky game. Took a step back, but when I was betting against them, they cover the spread. So Georgia probably covers, but I'm going to pick Georgia 31, Florida 23.
There's nothing that Florida has that makes me think they win this game at all. Kirby hates Florida. Hates Florida.
Yeah.
There's also been several times I can think about in the past where I remember being on shows with like Cannell and McElroy in like the summer and they would be looking at early lines like when Circa would release like their game of the year odds. And it's like, what's the lock of the year? And I remember 3 years in a row, I was like, it's Georgia. Like 2017, 2018, 2019. It was like, it's Georgia. It's Georgia. It's Georgia over Florida. It was 3.5 1 year, 7.5 1 year. It obviously looks like Vegas is caught up, right? 14.5 is a scary, scary number. There's nothing that tells me that Georgia should lose this game. But it's been a while since we've said some positive shit about Florida. It's just been a while since we've said anything positive about Florida. And I'm going to blow up my load early on this one. Excuse my language, because there's going to be some opportunities coming up where Georgia's going to actually have to play some people, which they haven't had to do all year. And if you want to say Kentucky is really good, you don't know football and you're an idiot. I just also realized that this is stupid because Kentucky boat raced Florida. But here's the thing. It's a rivalry game. You're in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Georgia has had all of like the recipe and like the ingredients for a recipe for disaster. And there's not a game that would mean more to whoever they're playing all year than this game against Florida. And enough spooky things can happen down there in Jacksonville, especially this close to Halloween. I don't think Georgia's that good. I'll say it. I will tell you right now, confidently, I am so much more scared of LSU as an Alabama fan than I am of Georgia. If we get to Atlanta, we're beating Georgia. I'm not worried about Georgia.
There it is. Man,
I don't think we're going to get to Atlanta
here.
But I'm not scared of Georgia. There's nothing that Georgia does outside of complain on social media that makes me think that they're an elite program. That's the only thing they do elite. And I hope this motivates everybody.
This is the clip.
This is the Florida IG clip. In the upset of the century. Florida, 28-27.
You couldn't even say it in front of Butler. No, I won't. This will not stand.